this past weekend, there was a playtest conveniently timed around the same time as the Concord playtest, where Overwatch let players try out their new hero, Juno. Now, here's the infographic of who Juno is, but aesthetically, we're talking Jetson, Space Ranger, high mobility, fast-paced gameplay, basically. Her kit includes a Medi Blaster, primary fire. It's bulb burst healing, that's hit scan, and it will heal allies and damage enemies. Much like Ana, where it's like you don't have to swap between damage and healing. You're just going straight with the weapon. She's got abilities Pulsar Torpedoes, which caught a lot of shit when it first got announced because it's an auto lock feature. We'll break that down on how it works. We'll give you a little vision if you haven't gotten to play. You want to know a little bit more about that. But that is one that players were pretty upset about at first, a little hesitant about. Her ultimate is Orbital Ray. It summons down a giant beam that heals your teammates in the beam and also gives them damage boost. Her specific abilities are Glide Boost, which means if you hold spacebar, that's her passive. Glide Boost is you hit the ability, you dash forward, and you stay at the same level, but you can move in any sort of direction like this. Basically a duck on the water. You can't go down, you can't go up, you're floating around on the water. I think we lost Nick, but I'm going to keep on keeping on here real quick. Her next ability is Hyper Ring. This is the one that's the flashiest and makes her the fastest. You send out a visual space cosmic ring that speeds you up as well as your teammates nearby. I believe there's some specificality with this. They might not need to be passing through it. They might need to be in front of you. Maybe they can't be behind you, kind of thing. But as soon as you send it out, everyone gets a speed boost. And then once you go through the ring, it extends the duration / gives you a different speed boost buff. It doesn't stack, but it just extends the duration. And lastly, her passive is Martian Overboots, which means you press jump and you hover, descend like Echo or Mercy does. You know, Nick, I know you cut out for a second for the tech issue, but like as far as me reading these abilities and seeing this stuff, what are your initial thoughts here before we jump into like some of the gameplay look and our discussion about what specifically happens?
Yeah, Blizzard does this all the time. They're super good at enhancing on champions they already have. This is like Mercy on crack.
This is Mercy, man?
No, like the way people are gonna play her will be like kind of like an old Mercy playstyle.
Like the high mobility, like the high mobility sort of playstyle.
Yeah. Just like high mobility healer that just does crazy damage compared to like. Think about it. Mercy literally has to have like switch weapons in order to deal damage, right? Like it's like this character just gets to unload. Like, oh, what am I healing? I'm dealing damage now. So that's really like what I mean.
Interesting, because like, I got a totally different vibe from that. You know, the obvious point is going to be more about Lucio because of the speed boost. Here it's the ring, the hyper ring, where as soon as you send it out, you get a buff. Anybody in front of you and your team gets a buff for increased speed. But then when you pass through the ring, forward or backwards, it creates that speed buff again. Surprisingly, that ability was great for disengaging and was really, really good for disengaging. It was not as good for like engaging on stuff. I do kind of understand because when you go into this ability, which is the glide boost, that's where you know, you're seeing like the Mercy flexibility and the general ability for her to dash around, move around, but like she didn't really feel like you wanted to be frontline target because her overall damage range, I think, ended up being like 35 meters before there's fall off. And that's also like an interesting point just to kind of add to this conversation before I send it off to you real quick, is that this is the first character with healing fall off. We go to 40 meters here, we shoot and damage this guy, and instead of taking 3 bursts to kill, it's like 5. So you see the fall off happens, that same fall off applies to healing. So if I were to be healing this guy, it would be taking 5-6 shots to top off a regular squishy character here.
Interesting. And like, and it's not accuracy based? like they're shooting 6 shots and like, 3 of the shots get more, like the accuracy of the overall burst is decreased from range, right?
So,
is that how it's working?
There's a little bit of spread. It is all hit scan, but they fire 12 bullets in each burst, and each burst, like each 12 bullets is a hit scan moment. So if you're moving, like you might only hit 6 and miss the other 6 if they're moving, etc., which is more the feel of what you'd see. And I'm going to skip ahead into actually in
they're reducing the healing though, right?
Yeah, so that's what I mean by
shots from range, and I hit all 12 shots. It doesn't heal as much because it's too far of a range.
That's the healing fall off, and that's the first character to have healing fall off. Normally, we're used to damage fall off, and here she is in gameplay. Just moving around. This is one of the first games I got to play with her. It's a single target healer. As soon as they're maxed, the bullets will go through, like Anna kind of mindset. So that's why I also surprised on like the Mercy comparisons. The double jump with the hover boots give you a lot of mobility, but it is a tracking character more so, and with not so much like a beam like a Zarya or Symmetra damage. Here. This is the auto lock on right click. It will burst heal a friendly target and then give them a hot, but then also just do damage to enemy characters. Enemy characters can dip behind cover and it will hit the wall before it hits them. But with healing, it will travel through walls like Lifeweaver's bloom mechanic.
Interesting.
So here I'm trying to run in and engage with and I end up being the person in the front line, and the Hanzo just murks me because the Doomfist is just off by himself and whatnot. But yeah, go ahead, Mick.
No, the healing drop off seems fine, because I'll tell you right now, the people who play this character are going to be DPSing more than Moira's, bro. Like just in general. It looks like it's probably, I don't know, that's the way that it looks to me. It's just it's going to be more of like a DPS healer with healing on it. But the ring, the hyper ring or whatever it's called, it doesn't look like a dive tool. It looks more like move from like safe spot to safe spot a little bit quicker. So like from like right here, maybe you hyper ring in order to get around the other route, or go up the wall. Go up the stairs right there, right? Like you go straight, or you go up the stairs instead of taking the right, because you don't need the hyperloop. Does that work on projectiles?
I'm sorry, what was that? The
loop.
The hyper.
There's a loop.
It's not considered. No, it doesn't work on projectiles, and it's not considered a projectile. Like D.Va can't eat it. So like it doesn't make bullets go faster or projectiles go faster. It just works on player characters. And you can kind of see that they're all squatting there, so it maintains the buff and like it trying to get them in and engaged in the position, and like you said, in a safe position for it. But we finally take some space here. The Doom is all in by himself, while the rest of my team just struggles with this one Sigma. There you go. And then we kind of push in. The hyper ring helps rush that basically. So team coordination wise, I think it's gonna be really awesome. But I don't know. I think this character is going to be a jack of all trades, kind of like there's nothing they're really bad at. They kind of do everything pretty well with mobility. So I think it might be one that replaces Lucio, because, or maybe they go hyper WoW comp, kind of like hyper speed rush comp or dive comp with the two.
They should really punish you. They should punish you if that becomes like the standard, or it becomes like viable with the two speed movers. That probably shouldn't.
Well, just like damage boosts, the speed is capped out. Like, so that's why, like, a lot of people initially thought Lucio and Juno would be strong, but I think you can't pop both of them at the same time. But in a more coordinated situation, a more coordinated team, they pop it separately. You've got 5 players just zooming around the map almost constantly, basically. So if you have a coordinated situation in play, that might be a crazy sort of moment and team strategy.
That's right. I mean, it's an interesting character, but I'll say it right now. This character is going to do more DPS than heals, like on your team, man. And like, you're going to be sitting there like, what is this Zen doing? What is this Juno doing right now? Like, it's what you're going to see. There you go. Heard it here first.
Yeah, my hot take with that is I don't totally agree. I think that low levels are gonna just aimbot their tank. They're gonna heal bot their tank. So you're gonna see them doing 10k healing per 10 minutes. And then I think high levels, which already have damage supports, and this is a damage support that rewards you for tracking. It's able to punish tanks, press them, especially in this age of kaiju kind of stuff. So I'm a little bit skeptical by that, like only damage kind of moment, but like I do like the versatility where then this healer doesn't have to sit there and wait for your team to do something like Mercy. They can kind of do something of their own, like a Moira or a Kiriko. And like we do know how broken Kiriko is, and I think Kiriko's broken because of the TP. Cleanse and Suzu is ridiculous, but I think it's the TP that allows her to position and really make moves here. This is her ult in. I'm pushing my team in just to kind of deal with it. I fall back probably erroneously there. I probably should have stayed with it, but it allows the team to win the fight currently and move on. But yeah.
It looks like a cool champion.
It's a lot of fun for sure, and definitely something to check out when it comes out. And I think August 20th, it's going to define the Overwatch League. Sorry, not Overwatch League meta. It's going to define the meta. At the very least in comp, by the time we get to stage 3, I think it's going to define the Overwatch esports meta for sure. Here. Is there anything you'd like to see from this champion, Nick, specifically? Would you think that we should definitely play them in a brawl comp, or would you want to see them more in that like poke dive situation? Any thoughts there?
I don't know. They would probably be like way better suited with more of a brawl comp just in general. Because as I said before, like if they're the hyperlink, not the hyperlink, the hyper ring. There we go.
Yeah.
The Higgs boson circle, like that one alone is for like going from like spot to spot and changing up your positioning as like a team, in order to quickly get past, like in the situations with like Lucio where they're going to move forward with the movement speed. This one is more targeted based because you can like basically say like, hey, direct your team to go this way, go that way, right? Like you're kind of leading people where they're going to go. Whereas like Lucio's just like, hey, we all have a speed buff, and if you don't stick with me, you're not coming. Like,
Right. But that's also interesting because that might also take a coordinated play, which you won't necessarily see in comp, especially when nobody's on voice, no one's calming, etc. So I would probably argue in that case, you might end up seeing her more in that poke comp. Her gun works from 35 meters, so it's like a mid-long range sort of situation. It's not a sniper, but it is one where you kind of want to take an angle like a Kiriko and kind of fall back. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's the thing that works best for her. She is something that might just fit into any sort of comp overall. And it might be a TBD to see what kind of changes or expectations kind of take from that point. But, it's a valid point that, we'll likely see Brawl a lot with her, with the hyper ring. I do want to, like I said, add that pokiness aspect to it there, where she's more of a mid-long range healer, not an upfront healer.
No, but I mean, like she does. I don't want to say it's like it doesn't look. It looks like she would just be able to spray in like really tense situations, right? And so, like maybe, like my thought that just popped in my head is maybe this is more of like a counter pick to like dive comps, just in general. Because like once the people dive in, you can get your team like separated. You could space a little bit with the hyperloop, right? Backwards or forwards. Right. And have like the spray with the healing plus the auto targeting. Plus, if anybody steps in front of the bullets at this point when you're trying to heal, they end up getting damaged anyway. So, like, I don't know if that was a good spot for that one.
Probably wasn't, but still learning the character. Overall, though, too, like just to kind of add, if the hyper ring felt really good, but it felt better in the disengagement. Right. It's felt a lot easier and smoother with that disengagement. And then I have the right click there. The right click didn't seem like a mid-fight situation because it felt like the gun worked better by itself with the burst of healing. I do more healing or more damage with the burst rather than try to lock on, take the time. And like the damage, it's not negligible, but like it doesn't change her break points on like a duel. So like...
No, but it gets it hot though, right?
you get it, you engage with it, you disengage with it, you take a cheeky angle like on a flank with your double jump, etc. Like, I think
Yeah, I mean, with the hot is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's what I mean too. Like, that's like probably more beneficial to an engage, right? You pop it as we're running in and not in the middle of a fight.
Yeah, like the beginning of the fight, and then it'll be back up, right? Like that would be mostly where I would think about it, because you're still doing the healing. Someone does take immediate burst damage on like an engage. That's why I was thinking if someone's just going to do like a dive comp, you're healing like real quick. You do that right click, it's auto targeted on your guys anyway, and you're trying to get your people space by putting down the thing. So, it could be in a brawl comp, but it most likely you probably pick it as like, especially since you have the mobility to get out of dodge as a healer a little bit more effectively. So. Yeah, right. Just better mercy. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, that point you're making, I really like that idea where it's like counter dive, right? It's not necessarily a brawl. It's not like I'm going to stand and fight. It's that I'm going to shift around and help my team move around to counter them pouncing, to counter them on all-inning on one target, something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops. The playtest went live and it's already concluded this past weekend. If you got to play Juno, Space Ranger, let us know your thoughts. How did she play? How did she feel? Is she going to need a buff? Is she going to need a nerf? There's been some mixed sentiment there, but we'll see how that goes for the safe side of Strong when they release her in the next season. Let us know on our social medias or here right in the comments. It's really appreciated. Nick, I think that kind of wraps up our topics for today. I'm going to obviously take us into our intro right now, but before I do, let's hear what your final thoughts are about either Juno or Esports World Cup, or even before that. What are we thinking before we head out there, Nick?
Juno's unlocked, right? Like I just get Juno for free now, right? Like that's all I'm thinking. It's like
that was a huge change.
I'll end up playing. Yeah, I'll end up. I mean, that was a crux for me, but like I would definitely end up playing Juno. Juno looks like a really, I say it all the time, but like be careful with mobility in PvP games. Like that stuff's crazy. Like it's absolutely crazy when you put reversing stuff and doing stuff. So like Champion looks good. It looks like it might be able to generate some weird gaps and go different places than other people might be able to. I don't know, but. It looks good. I do thoroughly enjoy the overall aesthetic of the character, the way that the moves look and everything like that. And as I said, I think it'll end up landing on like more of a reactive pick rather than a proactive pick.
Yeah, solid analysis there. Good point to make, because I did feel like that ends up being true, and people are still figuring out how to play her. My final thoughts here is like I'm really looking forward to this pick ban for Overwatch and EWC. I'm looking to see what happens with some of these other tournaments in the meantime. But my actual final thought here is during the playtest this weekend, I noticed a little bit of a setting that was updated. Let me toggle into our browser screen so you can see the full image here. I took a screenshot, and it seems, and it was kind of under the radar, Mythic Weapon Flourish was added to the settings and kind of under the radar. Nobody really talked about it. It's not a big deal, but it's something that they promised since they first announced Overwatch 2. They had cast and they could look at the weapon and see the little tag on the weapon and do a little flourish. Something they've had in other games. It's something they promised and people expected with launch. And here we are almost 2 years into Overwatch 2, and it looks like they're finally adding it. I haven't seen anybody talk about this. So my final thought is, look at this, hold them accountable, tell them it took them 2 years. Thank you. But why? Why did it take so long? I think it's coming, and it seems like it's coming for the mythic weapons they're going to start selling, which then again is another point of animosity. I'm sure next week we're going to have, or the next time we have a conversation, we'll be talking about how they scammed players and they're taking money out of their pockets kind of because mythic weapons cost money. And if I want to flourish my weapon, I can only do it if I buy stuff. So that's my final thoughts there, Nick. Any sort of addition to that before I bring us home?
Nah, Blizzard's great, isn't it? Aren't they great?
Right, and you totally never thought that Overwatch needed picks and bans ever, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely I did forget about that going into the Esports World Cup. For my final thought, I am super jazzed about that. I think it could evolve, but I definitely appreciate it. Thanks.
It's gonna be a good. Yeah, it'll be a great experiment to see how it plays out.
Yeah, join us back next week to see if I get what I want for another game.
Actually, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Esports Meta. I'm going to do the wrap up right now. Thank you for joining us. If you liked this video, let the algorithms know. Hitting the likes, follow, it tells them to send it to more people. We film this every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Times, live on Twitch and YouTube. You can watch us there and be a part of this podcast, comments, chats, etc. Otherwise, check us out on YouTube, our YouTube channel. We post all of these there. Leave comments, leave your thoughts, discussion there, or social media if that's more your vibe. You're not really into the whole YouTube thing. I get it. We're on Twitter, we're on Threads, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, so check us out there as well. We are taking next week off, going on a bit of a vacay, so we'll see you in 2 weeks with all the latest news. We'll have a lot to talk about. Thank you for joining us today. Nick, thank you for joining me. It was great talking with you about it. A lot of good stuff to be looking forward to.
Been fun.
All right. This has been the Esports Meta. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.